Well, it's Saturday, well, actually, I tell a lie, it's Sunday, the 22nd of November, and it's 1 o'clock in the morning. So, because you could call it late Saturday night or early Sunday morning, technically it's Sunday morning, but it's a nice, clear night. The moon was out earlier, and off work tomorrow. I don't go back to work till Tuesday, so I'm going to go out for a wee midnight drive, or what I would call a midnight cruise. It's well past midnight. So I'm just going to, I've got an all ready to go. I'm going to go down to the car, and I'll go for just a wee drive around Dundee, and you'll see Dundee's streets, what they're like at 1 o'clock in the morning, or after 1 in the morning. It's just too nice a night, and as you've probably guessed by now, I'm a late bedder. I don't go to bed till quite late. So, sometimes anyway. I've never really been one for early bedding. So, and I like driving at night when it's quiet and the roads are empty and that. And it'll give you the opportunity to see the streets deserted if you don't want to go out at that time in the morning. Not that I would blame you. Not many people do. It'd be an acquired taste. Unless, of course, you were working or whatnot, you know. But I'm going to go out for a wee cruise. And you're welcome to come along and join us on it. So, it's, I don't know how that, I mean, okay, fair enough, you might think that could have just set that. It is 1 o'clock in the morning. And, so let's buckle up and go for a wee cruise. Okay. Right. So, as usual, when I do the car trip tours and that, I use the dash cam. In fact, I'm just going to get inside. It's basically started the community centre in Minnesota. Inside. I was just going to... Yeah, it's just... What I was saying is that when I do the tours or the car trip recordings, I always start normally at the Minnesota Community Centre. So this would be like the equivalent of where you would start your journey. And then when I do the cruise, and I haven't got a planned route. I'm just going to make it up as I go along. I won't be for long, maybe an hour at the most. And I'm going to stop off at the BP garage, get a coffee. And then what I'll do is I'll return back to here, where I'll then switch off the dash cam. And that would be the equivalent to the end of your midnight cruise with us. It's just, this is like the standard starting place. So, and nice and cosy in here. It's pretty cold. It's saying 6.5 degrees on the thermometer, but it feels colder. And it's a clear night, but I've still not got the equipment yet that could show you the night sky. You know, it's not really sharp enough, so you won't really see. It's just not really going to pick it up. But you'll get the dashcam footage now, so I'm going to be able to start driving now. So you sit back and enjoy and just see the empty streets of Dundee after midnight and before waking up time. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, right. That looks like we're ready to go. So this is obviously my voice over audio, and this will be the dash cam footage about to play. Well, it's already playing. We're just about to set off from the Minnesota Community Centre. Hub, well, don't know why they call it hub, but probably because it's in the centre of the scheme maybe. I've always referred to it as a centre, but this is how they refer to it as. So, basically this voice audio is just I'm just winging it.
In other words, I'm just making it up as I go along. I don't have any script. I don't really have anything in particular to say. I just need to get this video compiled, made up, and posted up online so I could move on to the next videos. Clear out the, I've got the watch for storage on the laptop memory. I don't have an awful lot of equipment to do videos. I don't have a lot of money to buy stuff, so I've just got to make do with what I've got. So I've got to get the memory cleared to get the video out, so I can move on to other things, other videos as well. Time is of the essence, so I basically just woke up. Well, I didn't wake up. I didn't get to sleep. I couldn't get to sleep, so I kind of like said, "Oh, come on, I'm just going to get up, stick the video on and do the voice audio." So I'm still waking up kind of thing. I don't have a plan. Plan B, make it up as I go along. Anyway, you would have got the introduction earlier. This is us going along Charleston Drive. So I've got to watch this video as well and try and keep the voice audio in as best synchronization as I can. Keep it in sync with the video. So, and basically just talking into my mobile phone recording app. So the voice might be variable in the volume because I'm just simply holding the phone up and recording. Just hope for the best. Like I say, I've just got to get this video made and get it out there and move on to others. I enjoy making them, but working on buses and working on shifts, it's just all a bit time, I've got other things to do, time limits. Anyway, we're turning on to, I've just came down Arn Drive and I'm heading on to South Road. By the way, I hope you're sitting back and enjoying this with a nice cup of tea or coffee, like what I'm doing. From time to time I'll pause this just to keep an eye on things, memory and battery. So we're heading down Butters Lawn. There'll be Charleston on the left. Charleston housing scheme. That hasn't changed very much. Charleston is, it's not gone under a lot of development. It has had new houses built and it has had some kind of development work done to it, but not as much as like say Beechwood or Whitfield. We've gone through mega regeneration. They've completely, not completely, there is a handful of scarring blocks. Whitfield housing scheme originally had at the back of Whitfield anyway, they had the scarring blocks, which were, I think was it a Swedish design or something? I can't really remember. I should have really done the research so I could tell you, but the architecture is, the scarring, I think it's Sweden or Scandinavian or something, or is it Spanish? I don't know, but I don't think it was designed. I don't think the Whitfield scarring blocks were designed in Britain. The architecture was done somewhere else, but they were prefabricated. So it was a bit like kit for them, it was all pre-built. So assembly would have been, final assembly would have been quick. They would have thrown them up, basically, a lot quicker than the traditional, building it from scratch, like the stone-built buildings. Tenements and the old tenements. I think, anyway, they were quite unique, but unfortunately it got a notorious reputation. So much so that not long after they were built, they were just basically plan to get reconstructed. You know, they quickly realised that it wasn't really working out, so they had to do something. So they refaced them and that. But I mean, I thought the buildings looked fascinating anyway. I mean, I used to stay. In fact, we're heading there. Obviously, now, at the time I was driving on this video, I didn't have a plan. I was just simply going where I felt like going. I tried to avoid going on the roads that I'd done before on other midnight cruises. So I just tried my best to avoid that. But now that I know that we're heading for Whitfield, you'll see briefly some of the scarring blocks. I didn't have a lot of time. I couldn't get out and really film about at that time in the morning. It was about 1:30 in the morning. So I'm just going to pause this for a moment. Right, so just sorting the memory out. I've got the watch. Obviously, I've got to record this in various stages. Oh, right, we're at the BP garage. I should have maybe just waited. I forgot, actually. You see, I'm recording this voice audio days later. This drive was done on the 22nd of November. Well, the day is the 28th of November, so I'm just getting around to doing it now. So you're going to be able to get some camcorder footage, okay? And then I'll be back on the voice audio after that.
Okay, so that's just now got my latte, and I'll keep us awake. Yeah, there's only a truck, couple of cars. Well, no, that'd be the owner, the worker, the people that work. There's one other car, this one, and the truck. So there's only 3 vehicles. Normally this A90, the Kingsway would be busy. It's a busy road, but at this time of night in Dundee it's nice and quiet. So I'm going to head wherever. Just going to make it up. You'll see the streets. You'll get the dash cam next, and I'll probably on the voice audio go through the names of the roads that I'm on and that. Okay, right, sit back, relax, and let's go.
Right, that's us on the move again. Yeah, I pulled into the BP garage there for a latte. So, we're just heading on to the Kingsway, which is, that forms part of the A90 trunk route through Dundee to Aberdeen. Connects basically, it runs from, I think the A90 runs all the way from Edinburgh Forth Road Bridge right up to as far as Fraserburgh, going through past Perth, Frighton Bridge, through Dundee, through Aberdeen, and up north, heading for Fraserburgh, and then I think that's where it ends. I've done it, I've driven it quite a bit. Well, over the years I've driven the A90 up to Fraserburgh. Well, actually it was Crimond, just short of Fraserburgh, not far from Fraserburgh. There's a place called Crimond, and I've driven there many times for the stock car racing. That's a form of motorsport. If you don't know what stock car racing is, well, it's made up of formulas. There's quite a lot of formulas in it. So there's like the ones at the top of the class, if you like, that are a bit more expensive, where you spend more money building up prepping up the cars. And there's ones at the bottom of the class, which requires minimum of money. And these are my favourite. And that formula in the stock car racing type or the brand is banger racing. Bangers are basically just old road-going cars that are destined for the scrapyard, but instead of just getting crushed, the old conventional boring way, they go out with a bang. So in other words, they take them onto this track. It's a 1/4 mile circuit, and they drive them round the circuit and they just smash the heck out of each other. Well, I mean, the first 3 heats they do actual racing, but they're allowed to ram the other cars out the road and, you know, just crash into them. It's brilliant fun. I love watching it, and I've actually done it as well. I've had my shots of doing it. This was a good few years ago, but I had a really hard hit. But I was only trying it out to see what it was like, and I had on one of them meetings that I went down to, it was 2011 was the last one, the gala meeting down in Ipswich. Must have been about 50 cars. I was in the 1600cc meeting, and I think there was coming up for 50 cars on the track, and we could get up to speeds of 60 miles an hour going around this track just by holding it in second gear and flat out revving it up. And just under 60 potentially we could get up to these kind of speeds, and it's best to keep it in second gear. So it was just mental, but I got a really hard hit, so that was enough for me. But I did try it. I tried it the year before and earlier than that as well. I wasn't a regular contender because I didn't have all the... In order to do that, you need to have a trailer, welding equipment, a team of mechanics that know what they're doing. You know, it's quite costly, even though, I mean, all forms of motorsport cost money. And although the banger racing's at the bottom of the class, it still costs money. So, but I wanted to try it. I always watched it before that, and I said, "Come on, I'm going to get a shot." So I done it. I actually done alright in the first one. Stock cars in Birmingham Wheels Raceway. I wasn't really bothered about winning, but I actually won. I was just going round, and then the checkered flag dropped. And oh gosh, oh, I've won. I wasn't bothered. I was just wanting to do it for the fun, eh? But yeah, that was. Can't even mean I got the subject now. As I say, I'm just no longer up and just basically winging this audio. I haven't got anything in particular to say, but I've just got to have some kind of music and voice audio so that it doesn't, you know, if you just, this camcorder or dash cam doesn't have the microphone switched on, so it would really just be silent. Some would probably think, well, maybe I should just left like that so you don't want to hear me raveting on. Fair enough, I'll just turn the sound down then. But no, I mean, what was it? Yeah, this is just going along Gilburn Road through Kirton. That was Kirton as they were just past there. And straight ahead at the end of this road here will be Caird Park. Well, we'll come to the circle at Old Glams Road, but straight ahead is Caird Park, and the school on the right, that's St Paul's. And just along a bit, there's the trampoline place, sports soccer, and just up from there there's the old Dundee College. Yeah, we're coming up, we're approaching the circle now, so I end up turning down Old Clams Road, the Joe Carlisle way, but it's still, this is just heading down towards Claverhill Circle, and on the right is the Caird Park. This is like the outskirts of Kirton. This is the east boundary of Kirton housing scheme. And right ahead would be where the old Trottick multis were. But the multi-stories have all gone. Right, I'm reaching this mark. I'm going to have to pause this for a moment again. Right, so I was just shifting that file into the next file, keeping an eye on the memory, and if I say something that I wouldn't have liked to have been heard, and I don't have to completely do another 6 minutes of voice audio. So I do them in like cells. That's another reason why I pause it every now and again. So if I'm not happy with something, then I hate to do it all again. Like I say, I've just rushing this. I've got to get this done, get this video made, get it out online, and then move on to the next one. Because really, time is of the essence. I kid you not. There's many a times I've came home after an early shift, and I says, well, I'm going to do all this stuff during the day when I'm working that shift, in the morning, rather. Come off all these ideas, and I'm going to do all this when I get back home, and get all this stuff done, and go home and do this and do that. And many a times I've came home after driving the first bus right up to the afternoon. I get back home, I sit down, and that's it. I just can't get up again. I end up just, I just basically switch off. I shut down. I just can't concentrate, get up and do the stuff that I said I would, or thought earlier on that I would be doing. The only times I get out of that armchair is when I'm going to the bog, the toilet, or going grabbing a coffee and then getting my tea. I just end up putting the telly on or a DVD, just randomly select something off Amazon Prime and then just play it, and that's it. I just can't get up. I just totally and all these plans that I had earlier on, I just put on the back burner yet again. It's frustrating, it's annoying because I can't get the stuff done. But that's shift work. It knocks the living daylights out you. I mean, not all the time. I mean, it's got its advantages, obviously. Sometimes I could get stuff done after my shift. It depends really on just how much sleep I had before, what I've ate, what kind of day I've had, various body chemistry, variables. There's all sorts of variables. I mean, there's just it depends on just how much energy is in, what if you've had more energy in foods before, the night before, or there's hundreds and one variables that affect the physical and mental states. But shift work generally just throws the body sync right out of kilter. I mean, you could adapt it obviously, but it's not how we were naturally made. We go through the circadian rhythm, fancy word. But it's just how we sleep. The body knows when it's needing it. It goes with the daylight, and come on, just if you, I'm not going to go into it, but it's just to do with the natural body clock. But shift work basically gets that clock and just takes the battery out, and it just totally disregards the body clock. So it's like, I always like to use the analogy of engines. It's like an engine running on out of kilter, and it's needing tuned. I mean, it'll work, but it won't work as efficiently. No, it's like that with the body. If you're working shifts and stuff, it's never working. But not, the body isn't, and the mind is not running at its most efficient. Because it's not how we were naturally made, or whatever, created. Here we are. We're at this circle. I stop here. This is the where I done the video of the roads lead to nowhere or something. Right, you're going to get some dash cam footage. Camcorder footage, okay? So I'm going to pause this for now. Right, so what I've done is I've stopped at the place called, well, what I called in my earlier videos, the roads to nowhere, because behind me just lead to nowhere. It's the same up there as well. So it's just on the edge of Dundee. It's where the Jack Martin Way pensions office. It's just basically a dead end, right on the outskirts of Dundee. And behind me there, that's Finchley, GV Crescent. It's there, that's where I used to
stay many years, well, since I was born till I was 5. I lived at Cheviot Crescent, which was on the edge of the city. And beyond that is Whitfield. There's housing schemes on the edge of the Dundee East city. So yeah, started off my life there. And since then, since I moved there, I've lived in Meanessell ever since. So, I thought I'd just do a wee stop. I'll turn the camera and get a wee... I'll turn this round and you could see what you're going to see, what I'm able to show you on this camera. Okay. Yeah, so I've just stopped here and turned it round. If you look back on my earlier YouTube videos, it's called The Roads to Nowhere. Well, this is the circle here, that's the pensions office. I'm not sure what that is there, but that's basically heading towards the A90. That's going towards Aberdeen, and that's heading into Dundee City. And behind me there is, as I said earlier, that's Cheviot Crescent. My building, the house I lived in's been bulldozed. That was knocked down many years ago, 1995 in fact. So I'm going to head over to Whitfield. I was hoping to go along this back country road, but I saw the signs, the road ahead closed, so it's just fair enough. I'll just go into Fintry through Whitfield. Right, I'm going to jump back in the car, it's getting a bit cold. Right, let's carry on. Okay, right, that's his back on the move again. Aye, that was... I've done a video, which I'm going to mention that there. It was quite a fascinating... you know, I thought it was interesting why they just built these roads and it just ended up coming to a dead end. But if you want to know more, well, if you want to see my video about it, the main one I've done about it, go back on my YouTube channel, The Road to Nowhere, or Roads to Nowhere it's titled. You'll find it if you want to see it. Right, we're heading on to the Forfar Road. Forms part of the A90. The A90. So you won't see it, but on the right is where the old Lomax factory was. That's where the wheelchairs were built. I worked there for a few years anyway, a good few. 2000 and, oh, was it 5 years or something. It was before I worked on the buses, so I think it was 2003 to 2005. Sorry, 2003 to 2008. I worked there for about 5 years. And done various sort of tasks in there, brazing. It's a bit like welding. Final assembly, but assembling the chair. Done power chairs, wheelchairs, all sorts of various stuff. But it was just a job. It wasn't really, you know, I just got some money out of it. But the buses is the it's a better job. I prefer. I mean, I like the buses. It took me a while to get on it. Eventually get around to doing it, but I was always interested in buses since I was a kid. It was a hobby, still is. It still is today. But this is Fintry housing scheme. I forgot to mention, but just about 30 seconds ago, 40 seconds ago, we would have passed Fintry Mains. That's where my granny used to stay. And like I said earlier, I lived at Cheviot Crescent since I was born until I was 5, and then I moved to Meanessell, where I currently live. Have done for the last 40 years. But in the first 6 years of living in Meanessell, from 1980, so that'd be 1980 to 1986, I used to come over to Fintry pretty much straight after school, and then I used to spend hours in the evening hanging around playing about in Fintry, although I lived in Meanessell. But at the weekends, I think I wasn't like that every single day, so I obviously used to play around in Meanessell as well. But my granddad died in 1986, so we didn't
we didn't come over to Finchley anymore after that. But Finchley Mains is where I used to, well, it's where my granny used to live, so I used to muck around there when I was a kid. This is the Whitfield Drive we're on. We're just past the shops, or what was the old Whitfield Housing Scheme shopping precinct. That was bulldozed back in 2016. But what they've done is the old Whitfield Labour Club, which was like a bar sort of thing, that was converted into shops, and that's what's there now. So that replaced the old Whitfield, the main shops at Whitfield. It also had a library there. Whitfield had multi-stories as well. They were demolished. They were blown down back in 2003. Yeah, Whitfield's gone through a lot of changes, a lot of regeneration work. I mean, all these houses up here on the left. I mean, okay, this is midnight, it's dark. I'm going to have to do a proper video about Whitfield. Because I like Whitfield, I've been fascinated with the architecture of the old Scarron blocks. Like I said, I used to, when I was living at Cheviot, okay, I was very young, but I do remember, I mean, even after I moved from Cheviot to Minas Hill, I used to get, my uncle had a lockup in Whitfield for his car. He used to store his car there, and we used to go to Whitfield. There was other reasons. I used to drive, but I used to go through in the car, my dad's car. We used to go through, we used to pass by it to get to places. But I was always fascinated in those Scarron blocks. But they've been, the few that have survived have been all refaced. There's one on the right hand side. You could just make out the two lantern, big long lanterns. The people that have lived in Whitfield and know Whitfield will know exactly what the Scarron block used to, if they've lived there for, you know, I'd say 20 years, 20 plus years, they will remember what the old Whitfield Scarron blocks, how they looked like originally when they were built. They were just flat roofed, box-like, rectangular box, flat roofed buildings. They were nicknamed the barracks because of the sort of, I don't know, it was a prison-like look to them, which I found really fascinating actually. I didn't live in the Scarron blocks, but in the late 70s my mum knew somebody a family that lived in Whitfield, and I remember going into Whitfield in the late 70s. I mean, I was very young. I was only about, well, 4, coming up for 5, and I still remember it. I remember the different colours of perspex on the lanterns at the big long corridors. It was quite unusual that I had an external staircase to get to it. It wasn't integral to the main structure, it was an external staircase with kind of like a bridge. And these long corridors, you could basically walk Whitfield without actually touching the ground, because we're all connected. Maybe that was, you know, not the whole of Whitfield, but you could certainly, maybe I was exaggerating a wee bit, but you could certainly walk quite a bit. You could cover a lot of ground just by walking along the corridors. They were all connected, and they had problems with motorcycles, motorbikes, but actually were being ridden across those corridors because they're long and they're straight, and you can go in from one side and out the other and go through all the connecting blocks on a motorbike. So I learned that what they did to solve this problem was to put these jail-like bars on the end of the corridors. So if you wanted to get in and out, you had to, well, there was like a jail-like bar, you had to open a gate, railings, but it was like a prison, you know. This is the Whitfield Scarron blocks, by the way. you could see, I mean, as I say, I can't point at the moment and doing a voice audio, but you could see on the left there, you had the rectangular, like a long rectangular followed by a square, and a long one followed by the squares. That was the corridor windows, and there used to be in rows of 2. You had 2 rows per lantern, so there'd be 4 altogether on some of the scarring blocks. And the lower ones, on the upper level, the upper lantern, there was 2 lanterns, only 2. Its lower row of windows were perspex, plastic perspex, and they were different colours. You had yellow, I think green. But now there's only, what they've done is they've filled those in and just left the upper row of windows on the upper corridor. And what they've done with the lower row is they divided them into flats. You can still see the corridors on the right there. If you look there, you can see what they've done. They've made the longer rectangle a doorway and kept the square like a window. But the lower row of windows on the lower level were filled in just like what they've done with the top. And it's you're only really getting my explanation using words, which isn't really. I'm going to, as I say, I've got old photographs. I will get around to making up another video about Whitfield, and I'll show you the old photographs that I've got. Right, we're stopped, so you're going away to get the camcorder footage. Okay, camcorder footage coming up. Right. Right, so what I've done now is I've stopped at Whitfield, and then just going to show what the Whitfield scarring blocks look like at night with the lights. I was always fascinated in the architecture of the Whitfield scarring blocks, so I've stopped here and I'll turn the camera around and I'll just show you what they look like. I mean, it's the scarring block, in case you don't know, it's like the 2 big long lanterns. You've got a lower lantern and an upper lantern, and it's a block of flats. It's a sort of rectangular shape, although they've been refaced over the years. They were built in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s. But yeah, I was always fascinated in that design. I mean, I remember them when I stayed in Cheviot. I was only 5. It's going back. I left Cheviot in 1980. It was 5 back then. So up to then, I remember the scarring blocks. I was amazed. I mean, I was young, but I found it fascinating. So I've stopped here anyway. I'll go and turn this camera around and I'll give you just a wee video of it. But I'll not stay too long because I don't want people wondering what I'm doing. Okay. Right, so I'm not going to talk too long because it's obviously in the middle of the night. So, but this is like the external staircase, and you've got the lanterns, long lanterns that goes right along, and you've got another lower one there. So this is quite a long block, this one, and this is sort of in a hexagonal crescents. A lot of the Whitfield blocks were in crescents, but this has been, it's undergone a lot of regeneration work. Whitfield's changed a lot, but I'll try and quietly get videos of the block for you. It was notoriously like a prison block, so they refaced them and put roofs on them. It was in the middle of the night. I don't want people thinking what I'm up to. I mean, I always used to, when I was like in the 90s, my mates always used to go around and used to get stopped by the police and everything, questioned why we were always so late. This isn't my normal camcorder, this is just my phone, so I hope this wind doesn't become a problem for the sound. So that's the external staircase, and it goes into these lanterns. This is a long, they're only 6 bays, but that's there's a 12 bay one, but they are divided up. They used to be a big straight corridors, but there was lots of problems back then in the early days with motorbikes because they were long and straight corridors. So I'm going to get back to my car now and then continue on. Okay, so I'm just down there, and the next footage will be the dash cam. Right, so let's just back on voice audio. That gives us a chance to reset the memory as well. You know, shift the files from one file storage system on the phone to another. That gives me a chance to have a wee swig of my tea. Actually, my tea's getting cold. It's also made of coffee. Normally I have coffee, but this time I just woke up and said, "Come on, anyway, I'm having a cup of tea." But normally a coffee drinker. Right, we're leaving the. This is Dunbar Crescent. Now, if you've known me and known my videos and watched previous videos I've made, you'll have heard me talk about the Mandela effect. Now, for those that know and heard me mention this before, you may be sitting there saying, "Oh no, not the Mandela effect again." Or, if you're like me, you'd be like, "Yes, the Mandela effect." I've always loved to hear stories about it, because me personally, I'm fascinated in it. And I am a true believer in it because I have experienced it. Now, I've experienced what a phenomenon that is called and referred to as the Mandela effect online. I don't know what it actually is, but it's been that imitates something that resembles something online that is referred to as the Mandela effect. And like I say on all my videos when I mention it, is that if you are interested in the Mandela effect, I would suggest you do your own research on it and come to your own conclusions about it. Only if you're interested. So, yeah. I just came up with that subject because when I mentioned the name of that crescent that we left, it was Dunbar Crescent. But I've always remembered it before as being Haddington Crescent. But what's happened now is it's switched around. Haddington Crescent is now west of Dunbar Crescent. That's how it is now. But for me, it was the other way round. That used to be Haddington Crescent, and Dunbar Crescent was on the west of that. And I'm just looking at the scarring blocks here on the left. This is coming up the Ormiston Crescent. You can see the external staircases. Well, they've been refaced as well. The original external, well, that is actually the original external staircase that has been refaced. But the original look of it, I'd have to show you using my well, if I was to show you, I'd have to use my photographs, but you could easily go onto Google, just Google it up. Go to Google Images, type in Whitfield Housing Scheme in Dundee, and you'll get all the retro photographs of it. And you'll see what I mean, just how unusual, well, yeah, unusual for this country, I think. Certainly for Dundee, because there was nothing else like it in Dundee, apart from just a handful of blocks in the Hilltown that looked a wee bit like scarring blocks. There weren't many of them, but like a lot of things in Dundee, they were demolished also to make way for new houses, bungalow type, semi-detached bungalow type private houses. This is heading up the road towards Burnside of Duntroon. Yeah, so on the right there will be, well, if it was during the day, you'd be able to see Whitfield High School, which is now former Whitfield High School. It's now called Brayview Academy. That was actually changed in the early 2000s or late 90s, I think. So this is heading along the country road towards, it's heading west. If you could maybe just make out, I can't point it, but you might want to make out the red mast in the distance there on the right, being a 3 o'clock position now. That's the old TV transmitter. It's not an old, sorry, that is the currently used TV transmitter. It's a very tall mast, must be about, I can't remember. I've done a video on it. Well, I've done a video and I mentioned it on it. I think it's something like, or just under 200 metres or something, is it? So around about, maybe more, I'd have to look back, but it's a very tall mast anyway. That mast is on the right hand side of Craigavon Hill, and Craigavon Hill is part of the Sidlaw Hills, which is on the north boundary of Dundee, and it stretches to the west boundary. Yeah, if you look back at my videos on my YouTube channel, I've done a few videos regarding the Sidlaw Hills. Hills called King's Seat, Craigavon and Lundy Crags, I think. I don't know if I've done any more than that. I've probably done others. I've done quite a few videos now. So you can see the lights there on the horizon on the left. That's Dundee. Yeah, no, I was hoping to turn right up there earlier on, much earlier on, but that road was shut, so I had to end up. I didn't actually know. I thought when I came in earlier on, I was wanting to come up this road, Puri Bray, and I saw the sign saying road ahead closed. I was initially wanting to drive up, in the opposite direction to where I'm going now, and then turn right along the road that I just came along and come into Whitfield that way. But when I saw the signs earlier, I thought, well, the roads, I didn't think it would have got up this far. If I'd known that, I would have continued driving up this way, and it would come into Whitfield basically the opposite way and driving now. But I didn't realise that this road was still open up to that point. It's just had at this circle here, it just said this road was shut. So what I'd done is I just wung it. I just winged it and said, oh, I'll just go right along to the end of the and I'll just stop there and get a video of the roads that lead to nowhere, basically. So typical roads, road closes, road works, road shut. But then I'd complain if they didn't, and then the roads were full of potholes, so you can't even always complain, am I? It's either blooming roadworks again, or the roads are a mess. So we're heading down back on the Forfar Road, we're just heading into towards Dundee. Where the traffic lights are, that used to be a circle years ago, but with the increase in traffic now they've had to change the road layout and add these lights at this big junction. But yeah, there used to be a circle, and further up as well there was a double circle just further up this road, roundabout where the Shell garage is. But I'm sure there was something before that as well. I mean, the roads change all the time. I'll just film it. Yeah, I was just shifting files again. Aye, I think if I remember right, I was sitting in the car saying, blooming lights, what they're turning red for at this time in the morning. Should just be green, it's like traffic coming. I think I got caught up with these lights a lot. They always turned red on this midnight cruise. So maybe just as well the microphone was off, because it was. Maybe wouldn't have liked to hear some of the language I was saying. I was like, I hate lights sometimes, but then I love lights at other times. When it's giving me the right of way, then I love them. They're great. But when I have to stop for them, especially when I'm running late on my bus, when I'm driving the bus and the lights go to red for the cinema, I just hate them. Yeah, well, there used to be a double circle here. This is what I was on about earlier. That was the Shell carriage we just passed there on the left. I know a guy that works on the late shift. I used to work with him. Well, not work. I used to train. Well, I actually did. I used to train with him in 1992, and then later on, when I was in Telspec, well, many years later, and he started working there as well. Just by chance, just by coincidence. Talking of coincidences, Again, if you've watched my video, you'll probably just be sitting waiting, saying to yourself, oh, when's he going to get onto it? Here we go again. I love talking about supernatural stuff. But yeah, synchronicity, coincidences. I could talk for hours, I could talk for ages about this. I could listen for hours and ages about other people talking about it as well. Always have been interested in the supernatural stuff, as far back as I can remember. But that does not make me biased into thinking that everything is supernatural. No, it doesn't. I still got to rationally think it out. And as regarding the Mandela, or what's called the Mandela effect, I have first-hand experienced it on many accounts. But what was I going to say about mega coincidences or synchronicity? There's so much of it I've been experiencing. I mean, here's a couple of examples. I got a video sent to me by the Facebook Messenger, and I watched it. It was just a short one, and I described it using a word. So I shared this video to somebody totally unconnected, and I never said how I described it, and they got back to me and described it using the exact word. Now this word isn't commonly used. It's not what you'd expect, or it's not what you might bet that that's the word he's going to choose. No, it was a random word, but it was one I hadn't heard for a while, and it was mentioned by somebody totally unconnected. How the word that they used to describe this video. I'm not going into details about the video, that's irrelevant, but I'm just what is the point that is relevant that I'm trying to make is that the coincidence was just too much of a coincidence. Now this has happened many times. So another thing that is a mega coincidence is, like I said earlier in the video, when I came back from shifts after early shifts and Saturday, sometimes I'll just sit in the chair, can't be bothered doing anything, and I'll just select a random film and watch it. So I did this one time. I watched this film. It was about heists. It was about, I can't remember the name. What was it called? I can't remember. It was about nicking paintings and stuff. I mean, I just watched that many films sometimes. Morgan Freeman was in it. There was 3 well-known actors. It was about stealing. What was it called again? I can't remember. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. But the point was, it was just randomly selected. It was a film that, you know, within reason, it wasn't one that I would. It was something along the lines that it was interesting to me, like, so. I wasn't selected in particular, but it wasn't a film a type of film that I wouldn't have watched. You know, I didn't just close my eyes and pick a film. I had to have a look through some of them, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll watch this thing about these heists. So I done that, and then days later, again, I just randomly picked a film. I didn't intend. I didn't even, you know what, I just saw it. I just looked at it and said, oh, Sean Connery's in it. So I didn't even bother reading the description that much. I just give up. I'll just stick that on. Sean Connery, right, stick that on. So I've done it, and it was about heist. It's called Entrapment. And talking to Sean Connery, it was only fairly recently that I heard that he died. And before that, I hadn't watched the Sean Connery film for quite a long time. And it was just recently that I heard that he died, because he died recently. And that film I selected, I didn't go in there with the intention of watching a Sean Connery film. I just went onto Amazon Prime, I just flicked through them and said, oh, you know, I was half asleep, I was knackered, I just sat down, I zonked, and I just said, oh, Sean Connery. Well, I didn't even know, something about a heist, I just stuck it on there, that'll do. and then it was actually very similar to the other film. But what other things are mega coincidences? Yeah, a lot of times. Oh, by the way, this is the before I forget, this is the Verdant Works, and just passing the Verdant Works on the left there. It's about Dundee's old jute mills. It's very interesting. Dundee are obviously famous for the 3 J's: jute, jam and journalism. The jam was the Keilor Centre. The jute, well, there's a lot of jute mills. In fact, this whole area of mills, it's Brook Street, there was a lot of mills, old mills in this area. But the Verdant Works is really worth a visit. That'll show you a lot of the old machinery, the jute mills and the stuff that was typically used in it. Jute, jam and journalism, that's DC Thompson's, which is still on the go. Their main factory is on Kingsway East, and their main headquarters is on the Ward Road, in the centre of Dundee. So that's Dundee's 3 famous J's: jute, jam and journalism. This is Millenbank Street. Just past the Andrew Hart motorcycles, just about 30 seconds ago on the right. So heading up towards Scott Street. Yeah, Scott Street. Scott Street's just on the left now, and that pub, well, that's all just been boarded up recently. Yeah, this is the steep part of City Road. It's a steep grade up. This is part of the the Friary was on the right hand side. Yeah, it's coming out of Teledelph. Ah, that's right, these lights, that's me flashing my headlights at the traffic lights. I was cursing this saying, this is the middle of the night, what the lights still at? Oh, I was like, blooming lights, man, because every time I came to a set of lights, they were always at red, or they just turned to red, so I had to wait the maximum time. And I mean, there's nothing coming, so they should have just been going to green right away. But, yeah, anyway, so straight in front, that would be heading for the Logie, which is a part of Dundee, and then further on there would just take you into Lochee. But I'm not heading this way, I'm heading on to Teledelph Road. Teledelph, and then this will lead to Ancrum Road. So it's just Ancrum Drive or past it on the left. I always get them mixed up, Ancrum Drive, Ancrum Road. It's the outdoor centre, the Ancrum Outdoor Centre coming up shortly. You're maybe not see it yet until I turn this left. Yeah, just make out the Ancrum Outdoor Resource Centre. That's where we have I'm part of the Caledonian Hike Club, and they have their AGM meetings in there, in the outdoor centre. So just coming up a wee bit here, Ancrum Primary School just on the right, and that's Lochee Park on the left. Unfortunately, you ain't going to see nothing because it's pitch dark. But I did do a video about Greater Balgay not that long ago, actually, on my YouTube channel if you want to see it. I show videos and footage of around Greater Balgay. Lochee Park is part of Greater Balgay. That garage on the right, well, that used to be a garage on the right, that's now going to be, I think it's going to be a car wash or something, but that was going back in the 90s. That road there on the left's leading into the Mills Observatory. It goes into Balgay Hill. Right, time to pause this, give us a moment. Yeah, I was just getting that file shifted, it was getting a bit long there, so. Yeah, this is along Glams Road. So the one at Kirton was Old Glams Road. This is Glams Road in Menas Hill. And all these new houses on the left, they were originally small flat roofed, kind of like student like accommodation. They were sheltered housing, I think it was, but they were just they were a lot smaller, flat roofed, terrace like houses, and they were bulldozed to make way for these big new private houses. So this is the Dixon Avenue Circle, and 9 Wells at the top of 9 Wells Avenue. I'm just heading on to Dixon Avenue, which is part of the 22 bus route. And the house is on the right now. That's where the old Jimmy Shand bar used to be. That was bulldozed of just last year. It didn't take them long to get these houses built up. But Minas-House, it's gone through a lot of changes, but there's still a lot of things in Minas-House are still fit to go. I mean, all these houses are still in good nick. You know, the one I live in, which is not shown on here, and I don't intend on showing you where I live, but that house the house I'm in is in good condition, and hopefully be up for a good while yet. But all this area on the left here, the primary school, that's where the old Maltby's used to be. And I done a video about just on the left here, the Rock Bar. That was bulldozed. I done a video on that. If you look back at my YouTube channel. So we're heading now back to the start-finish line. The start-finish, which is the Minas-Hill Community Centre, or Minas-Hill Hub, Community Hub. So this is where I do well, this is normally where I start the dash cam footage from. It just keeps everything sweet, so you know where I've started, where I've ended, and it keeps it neutral. So anyway, I don't want to disclose where I stay. I'm not going to record from there. Right, camcorder footage coming up now. Okay. Right. This is back to the start now. Back at the Minas-Hill Community Centre, or the Minas-Hill Community Hub. So that was quite good. It was covered quite a bit, I suppose. I went right to the other end of near enough the other end of the city. So basically started off from the Minas-Hill Community Centre. Then I went to the BP garage on the Kingsway. That would be the northbound. Then went through Adler, Curtin, along Cleverhouse Road, up the Forfar Road, to the pensions office where the roads lead to nowhere. I've done a video on that subject on an earlier YouTube video. After that, I went through Finchley, up through Whitfield, stopped at the Whitfield Scarring Blocks, then continued up through Whitfield, around by the country roads that goes down by Puri Bray, I think it is, and then down back onto the Forfar Road, then down through Jury Street, Victoria Road, which was on the outskirts of the city centre. Then after that, onto the Ring Road, down past where the Verdant Works are. That's the old Dundee Jute Mills Museum, the Verdant Works. So I passed that area. Then I continued on up Millenbank, and then basically into Minas-Hill, back to the starting point, which is the community centre. So, and pretty tired now. It's now 18 minutes to 3 in the morning, and so fair enough. So I'll get this car parked up back home, which isn't far, and then that'll do it, and then I'll get this video compiled up. So I have made videos before this one. I mean, like I said, before on other videos. Later videos, so if I made a video, I mean, like, they could skip the queue, in other words, not necessarily get made and then put out online in order. So there's like a few weeks, couple of weeks difference in them. It's just for this memory card and stuff like that. I've got a slight bit of a stockpile of videos, so it's quite good to have plenty there to put out. So they're not necessarily in order. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that. Keep tuned if you want any more for these cruises and that. So, and off to bed. Right, thanks for watching. Okay, bye.